In the journey we began together to examine the claim of the Quran being a miracle, we have reached the point where the Quran introduces itself as a book of guidance and mercy. Naturally, we must understand and analyze this book based on this very subject. The content and topics that appear in this book are to be properly understood in light of this subject, and thus we come closer to the main purpose intended by the author of this book. Just as when we read a sentence in a medical book, if we know this book is medical, we derive one meaning from it. If the same sentence appears in a history book or in literature or in other fields, naturally its meaning can be different. Understanding that the Quran is a book of guidance and mercy helps us to grasp its content precisely in accordance with what the author of this book intended. Now, when we examine the content of the Quran with this perspective, we see that we are faced with an extensive network of topics related to guidance and mercy. That is, the subject of guidance is raised in the Quran hundreds of times, and other subjects can also be analyzed in its light. The stories of the prophets, laws, rituals, topics regarding the attributes of God, and other teachings all gain new meaning in the light of guidance. The subject of mercy is the same way. By paying attention to the numerous occurrences of mercy and the semantic network connected with it, we realize that this book conveys nothing but the message of love and mercy. So, if God says somewhere that he loves certain people or says that he does not love certain people, he is explaining the concept of mercy. And this theme runs throughout the book. Even punishment, if we see it in the light of the fact that it appears in a book of mercy, takes on a different meaning. That is, the Quran's warnings about punishment are actually warnings about being deprived of God's mercy. When we examine this broad semantic network of guidance and mercy from this perspective, we come across interesting and new points. An important point to mention here is that in this book, even guidance is nothing but that same mercy. That is, we see that the Quran attributes to mercy exactly the same characteristics and descriptions that it attributes to guidance. The Quran says God's mercy has encompassed everything, and elsewhere it says His guidance has encompassed everything. The Quran says God has made mercy obligatory upon himself, and elsewhere it says God has made guidance obligatory upon himself. Or the Quran mentions a special mercy, saying God includes some people in the special mercy. Likewise, it repeatedly says that God includes some people in special guidance. This shows that God's guidance is in fact a path to reach the mercy that He has presented in the Quran as the purpose of creation and the purpose of creating mankind. Now the question is, how can one attain this special guidance? The Quran in multiple verses says this special guidance is created through a profound transformation in the human heart. The verses related to this topic are discussed in more detail in this video, where you can observe how many verses in the Quran emphasize that to attain God's special mercy and guidance, a transformation must take place in the heart. Then the Quran describes itself as the agent of this transformation and as the best and most effective means to create this transformation in the heart, a transformation that leads to attaining God's mercy and special guidance. Therefore, we must continue to examine what exactly this transformation is, which the Quran claims to be an unparalleled miracle in this field.